what we hope to attain today is explain to you guys why this is so important and why we are moving in this direction. It's really basically it's simple as that we just see so much aches and pains in the world today for everyone, and yet the alignment portion of the training is really pushed to the side. So if we all have 1 hour a day of exercise, let's say, that we're given, what we see and what we know that we have done at the Monkey Bar Gym, we might do 10 minutes of the beginner sequence, and then we might do 1,000 reps of exercise in that hour. That beginner sequence makes benefits, and then when we go to do our 1,000 reps and we're doing them as fast as we can, we do compensations of movement in order to get that done as fast as possible. Why? To satisfy here, right? And so what is the thing that we all basically want? We want to be pain-free. You want to be able to run upstairs without your knees hurting. You want to be able to lift a baby up or a heavy load or something if you got to, like pick a bike up and put it up on the top of your truck without worrying about it. You need to run to catch some, to run down the block real quick. Great. You shouldn't have to worry about those aches and pains that, like, a lot of times, tying your shoes, putting your pants on first thing in the morning. All of those things cause aches and pains in the body that as you get older, they get magnified. So why not do a program that reverses the aches and pains, which is our base, but yet also makes you stronger, which we're doing with the ISO loaded base positions of exercise. So it's basically isometric contractions. And then it also, doing those isometric contractions strengthens joint integrity, it strengthens your muscles, it strengthens your tendons, it strengthens your ligaments. And in doing so in an isometric fashion, it also decreases that grind that we have, that I know most of you guys are like, yep, that's me, squatting your knees, doing some exercise. Like, how many of you guys have been doing a press type exercise overhead and you're just like, Jesus Christ, I sound like I got a friggin' crunch bar in my shoulder. Yes. You know what I'm talking about, like a Nestle's crunch bar? And you guys know that, and that crunching sound you hear. And then you might have the same thing on your elbows when you're doing pull-ups or rows and stuff like that. And it's just like, this doesn't feel right. So Jesse and I, about 5 or 6 months ago, we were still teaching the regular classes, still teaching base, but we were thinking, what if we dove in 100% to train the way that we really feel in our hearts is the most effective way? And that is teach you guys how to align, but then maximally load you to recruit those weak links. Because if I have Kathy, for example, doing push-ups, and she's doing push-ups, but her shoulders, because her shoulders are rounded a little bit, like almost everybody else's, when she does push-ups, her shoulders roll, especially when she's doing reps. Her shoulders are going to roll, along with everybody else here. But what if you go halfway down, Kathy, and I said, okay, Kathy, roll your shoulders, get your shoulders away from your ears. Pull your head back. Hold that position. Now she's in the right position. And because she's at the right angle that we know how to get you guys in, you're getting maximum strength benefit as well. You're getting that base alignment benefit. You're learning how to recruit your entire body, not just sectionally, your entire body to improve your strength. And in doing so, you create a more balanced body. You reduce the likelihood of injuries. And you then can put your body in a better position to be pain-free to do all of the activities that you want. So that is where we're going, and we're starting this program Monday. And we find it doesn't mean that we still won't do, let's do it. We're going to do some max sets, a set of push-ups or handstands or pull-ups or something like that. but that's going to be the less than 10% of the training program each day. The beginner sequence is going to be there, base loaded in an isometric manner is the whole focus of where we're going. And Jesse and I have been doing this, like I said, for the last 5 or 6 months.
And we actually started in 2014 practicing it, and then finally refined it into what we're going to show you guys starting on Monday. Right. So the gains that we've gotten are crazy. And some of you guys know my torn labrum in my left hip. And this allows me to train my legs. My hamstring strength is almost back to where it was when I was in college. My thigh strength, everything. On top of that, my upper body strength, I've set records that I haven't touched in almost 20 years. Handstand push-ups, military press, things like that. Shocking improvements, and that's just strength. Yeah. And for me, I ruptured my Achilles in 2014. Oh, wow. And because of that, it started to just kind of spiral the leg, the right leg, and the hip would get really tight. And I would have really bad, severe knee pain. This has reversed that, because now I'm getting into a position where I can hold the position, recruit the right muscles to fire that are kind of atrophied or somewhat asleep. Now they're firing, and now the knee pain is going away. Now the hip pain is going away. Now I'm getting greater range of motion. So it's all about, really, it truly is all about recruiting the right muscles. Right now, we may be recruiting the wrong muscles if we have misalignments, if we have aches, if we have pains, and we're constantly recruiting the wrong muscle. Now we're going to teach you how to recruit the right muscles. Okay, now I'm going to have a time where you guys can ask any questions that you want on the benefits of isometric training. So we'll go through those, but the big thing is that in general, you guys want to be pain-free, you want to be strong, you want to be lean, healthy, and balanced. This can do all of the above as good or even better than traditional dynamic or movement-based training, doing basically reps and sets. Okay, now, the older that you get, the more aches and pains, without question, happen in life, and those occur. Kathy, I am not talking to you. Golly. I mentioned older, she starts laughing as if, Kathy. That's not who I'm talking to. I'm talking to even Mosquito. He's an athlete. And I'm talking to anybody. The more that you age and the more wear and tear that you put on your body, joints hurt more. It's a fact. Okay, I have tried to count the amount of injuries in my body. I've broken so many bones, torn tendons, popped ligaments, got so many concussions, it's a joke. And so movement, if I don't move and get some fluid moving through my joints, I get bad quick. So I'm an example, and each of you guys have varying examples. Some worse, some not so bad. But the thing is, none of us want to go to the point where we're moving less and in more pain, right? So if we can teach you guys how to activate, and one of the points that Jesse made is why our base we think is so strong is because you wake up those weak links in your body. Like we can all get, and I'm going to show you guys an example, and you guys are all going to follow along with me. And we're going to go through an example of an isometric hold. So if you all just put your hands out as if you're in a push-up position. Okay, so we're here. Now, at this position here, the muscles in a push-up, we know basically they're here, they're here, they're here, right? Generally, chest, shoulders, triceps. In this straight arm position, they're not really activated a lot, right? So now when you come all the way down to the bottom of a push-up, you all know this, you can sort of hang out in that position, right?
Right.
But what's the hardest part? The hardest part is after you press up and your elbows are just about at 90 degrees. Hardest part. right? So if you look at it, and you guys can relax now for a second, if you look at it just off engagement of muscle, very little, high when you hit 90 degrees, and then back to very little when you're at the top. High, almost turns off, back to high, and then almost turns off again at the top. Versus hold the middle position. Find the way how to load that maximally so that you maximally recruit and you stay in that top engagement position. That's an isometric contraction. Okay, now there's many different ways to do this type of contraction. There's self-contraction. I can push against an inanimate object. That's a static contraction. I can also do a handstand and hold it there. That's called live. I can take kettlebells, hold them. I can take weights, hold it here at eye level. That's called a live isometric contraction. That's what we do. And that's what we do. And that's what you guys will be doing. We're going to teach you how to do that so that you maximally engage to hold at that same level for the maximal amount of time that you can hold it. Okay, now that is one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is what we've been doing for years is how do we wake up those weak areas of the body? Okay, and that's by base. We, not just holding like this with my shoulders not in the right position. I'm going to get into the right position by we're going to be cueing you guys. And we're going to be saying, okay, on that push-up, don't let the shoulders come here. Like my reference with Kathy earlier on the push-ups like this, shoulders down, butt and belly engaged, body straight. You guys know how hard inclined plane is. Lower halfway into that push-up position, you're getting all the benefits of the full body, plus you're strengthening those weak links of the body. And now when you learn how to load it properly, that's where you get incredibly strong in your weak links, because we are learning and teaching you guys how to recruit those weakened areas of the body, and then how to also maximally challenge those weakened areas of the body. You might hold it for 3 seconds, you might hold it for 20 or 30 seconds. It doesn't make a difference as far as muscle strength and muscle size goes. Either of those loads gives the result of the same effect. Greater increases and greater strength when compared to dynamic exercise. So if we had Anne, for example, holding a push-up, getting her alignment so she really activated those weak links, maximally holding a push-up, maybe she has a 16K around her waist and she's holding a push-up, and she can hold it for 10 seconds. She rests for 20, repeats that again, keeps repeating until she can't repeat it for 10 seconds anymore. That's a maximum contraction. And then she's also getting the benefit of waking those weakened areas of the body up. That is what creates more balanced posture. And that's what makes us move through life easier. And then because we know how to engage her properly, she's going to get maximum strength benefit better than doing dynamic reps.
So I think let's have you guys now. I know you guys didn't come here to have a workout, but I want you guys to try this out because I want you to understand, and this is in this program, there's going to be a lot of teaching of this, but I want you to understand what it feels like to be in that middle position. We'll just go ahead and use a push-up. So get yourself set up. You can do a knee push-up, you can do a regular push-up, but we're going to toy around with the bottom position. We're going to toy around with the top position. And we're going to toy around with that middle position, okay? So let's let everybody get set up. We'll take another couple seconds here to get you set up. Again, knee push-up, regular push-up. You can also just watch if you want, like Mosquito.
I think it's like...
Mosquito's like, I do enough push-ups.
It's like 12, it's like 10 p.m. there, right? Yep. Isn't it like almost midnight?
No, it's around 7 p.m.
Oh, okay, that's not too bad.
All right, so it looks like a lot of you are starting the knee push-up. Let's start in the knee push-up with the arms straight.
Knee push-up.
All right, so not much contraction here. You could hold this for minutes if you wanted to. Now, what I want you guys to do is lower yourself all the way to the ground until you're hovering maybe an inch off the ground. Now it's a little bit more challenging.
Greg, get in a push-up position. Yeah, now Laura, there you go.
It's a little bit more challenging, but there's still this feel that, yeah, I can hold this. Now I want you guys to come up halfway and hold. Now here's where we're going to challenge you. Watch the shoulders. Move the shoulders away from the ears. Move the front of the shoulders away from the floor. Don't let them round forward. Draw the belly button towards the spine. Resist the back of the neck. Watch your belly there, one. Draw the belly button towards the spine, shoulders away from the ears. Good, come on out of it. Now, this is just a little taste of it, is that, you know, that is where we're gonna get you to that point where, okay, we've got you there. Now let's fix your misalignments. Let's get into that position where the muscle is contracted the most, and let's help you work that muscle. You think about when we're going in and out of a push-up position, how long do you stay in that middle position? How long do you stay in the position where the muscle is contracted the most, like that?
And where you're recruiting your weak links of your body. You don't. We bypass it all the time. Like if I said, Mosquito, do 50 push-ups in a row. He's body, and he's going to do them however he can. I'm pretty positive he's not going to sit there. Okay, I got to keep my shoulders wide, got to keep my head lifted, and I'm going all the way to the floor, going all the way to full extension. Probably not going to do that. He's going to go through them really fast, and therefore he's not going to recruit the weaker areas of his alignment. And that is the whole point of what we're trying to achieve here. Strengthen those weak links maximally. Also strengthening the big muscles as well. So we're trying to get both worlds as maximally done as possible. And this occurs, and you can do this very quickly versus traditional dynamic training or traditional weight training where you got to do reps and sets that you might be working out for quite a long time to get a similar result. Now, the result that we're looking for, and this has been proven in studies where if, let's say Dylan, for example, I load him up with a load that maximally forces 90% recruitment of his muscle fibers on a push-up. And then I have Brad doing knee push-ups. Both go to failure. Dylan might go to failure at 10 reps. Brad might go to failure at 30 reps. Mm-hmm. If they both truly go to failure, the result in strength and size is the same. It's the same, yeah. Right? So that's a very important point because it's not about sets and reps. It's about take the muscle to failure. Okay, well, we can do that with what you guys just did. If we pulled out Travis, for example, or Frank, put them in that push-up position, whether they're loaded or not, get their alignment right to really wake those areas up and really activate them properly, they're going to go to failure and they're going to get that positive benefit, whether they loaded it up maximally or not. And that is what our whole goal is of this program and moving forward. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes.
So I think if you want to ask a question, we can take a couple seconds here to ask a question. You'll put your little hand icon up.
Your little hand up.
Your hand icon. If you want to
put your little hand up.
Not this one, but you know, the one you can choose. If you have any questions, we can get to them before we move on to the second part of the seminar. All right, sweet. I think we're doing pretty good.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Okay, so since you guys have the gist of it, when Jesse put you through that push-up, we weren't even really talking about alignment. And have you ever, like, Mosquito is a really good example of this. He's not a really big dude, and he's a martial artist. Like, you all know Bruce Lee, right? And his 1-inch punch and how much maximal force he could put into somebody. Versus some really big dude that might be 300 pounds, he tries to hit somebody and he produces less force than Bruce Lee did, you know? And that's the same for any martial artist. It's the same for any weightlifter or anything like that. Why is it that sometimes a smaller person produces greater force output than a bigger person. And it's because they're recruiting a higher percentage of their muscle fibers. Okay, and what happens here, and this happens in base too. A muscle cell is either turned on or is turned off. And that is why, like Bruce Lee recruited maybe 80 to 90% of his muscle fibers when he did an action, versus the 300-pound guy trying to punch the same object might recruit 30% of them. And because, why? Because his line from his foot through his fist has weak links in it. Does that make sense? Mosquito and I, for example, we both had the same instructor as our friend Luis Claudio. Now, I often laughed about him. Luis is about 145 pounds, and I've rolled in Mosquito's rolled with guys that are 300 pounds that do not feel as heavy as Luis felt. When Luis got a crossbody on me, I swear to God, it felt like a Mack truck had backed up on my chest and sat there. And I was dying, and he's 145 pounds. And why is that? He knew how to recruit the right muscles to load 90 to 100%. Oh my God, Danilo, yay! That's my other friend. I've known these guys since they were little kids.
What's
up? Tudo bem?
Hey, what's up, Jess?
Hey. I love those guys. I've known them since they were little kids. Thank you, Mosquito, for showing me Danilo. That's awesome. They're both teaching over in Dubai. They're both professional teachers over there. So my point is, though, that when you get that line of alignment and aligned properly and all the points are engaging, you can produce more force. And that's all we're trying to do in base class. But the problem with doing like traditional yoga or base is that although you might get in the right position to fatigue that muscle to create muscle gain and strength in those weakened links, you might have to sit there for 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 minutes in the right position in order to gain benefit from it. Right? Does that make sense? So what we're doing is we're teaching you how to load those positions and recruit the right muscles to get in the proper positioning, because it's a twofold process. You got to get in the right position, and then you got to load it maximally so you fatigue that muscle, which results in muscle gain and muscle strength. Okay, that produces change in your posture, and that change in your posture produces change in your mind and your spirit as well. Does that all make sense?
Now, Dylan asked a really good question about, should I get heavier load than what I already have? And right now we're going to say, keep what you have, because when you start this program, it may be surprising to you that you are stuck with using 8Ks on a press, maybe even 12Ks, because we're getting you into a position where you haven't really trained that middle position that much. And you might realize, oh my God, I can't even keep the left arm up when I do this, halfway military press. So right now, before going out and getting something, keep what you have, and then we can work through that once we find out what your strength level is in those positions, okay?
Okay, super important point. So alignment and engagement of those weak links and maximal load to fatigue them, and that load can be whatever. Like I was making that example with Brad before, and I can't remember who else, about doing push-ups, you, Dylan. 40K push-up versus a knee push-up. If you take them both to fatigue, the results are the same.
Results are the same.
Okay, so now comparing this like to Dylan actually doing push-ups and Brad actually doing push-ups versus holding an isometric contraction in the hardest point of the range of motion. The result is greater strength benefits and greater muscle gain benefits as well, without joint pain. And that's because one of the reasons why we have pains in our body is because over time, being in the incorrect position our joints are in the wrong position. Instead of being like this, they might be here, they might be overly tight, arthritic, they might be overly loose, which most martial artists and gymnasts, they get really loose jointed. And that causes just as much problems as well. So what happens is then you're in the wrong position and you're doing all these repetitions. And you, like I was saying before, the snap, crackle, pop going on in the joints doesn't feel good, right? So doing an isometric hold in that one range doesn't put you through the grinder, basically like putting sandpaper on a wall if you're moving it up and down like that. That's the same as bone moving, and that tendons and the ligaments and the bones all basically get grinded. It doesn't feel good, nor does it increase the integrity of the joint and the health of the joint. So if you do an isometric hold, the blood flow is going through that joint still. You can also work on the full range and holding it in whatever ranges that you can manage, working towards full range. So you're going to get benefit there that we've always done in base anyways. And then you can maximally contract it. And so that decreases joint pain, increases the fluidity through the joint, which increases tendons and ligaments as well. In 2016, there was a Russian study that proved that the isometric contractions give huge recovery benefit of ligaments. And that same year, a Japanese study found isometric contractions, just like we're talking about, give huge recovery benefits to the tendons. So that, with those said, we're getting incredible gains, guys, from doing these isometric contractions in base, but also we know how to load them properly, so you're not sitting there having to hold it like in a yoga class forever and hope that you're recruiting those specific muscle groups.
Right.
Still got me? You're all still following with me? Okay, cool. So there's a couple of different ways that we will maximally load isometrics, and you guys have seen them before. Like, I know you guys have heard of Charles Atlas, right? And that was, he did back in the 40s, I believe 40s and 50s is when he came out with dynamic tension, the Charles Atlas course. And he would do, and he'd push against it, and he'd pull against it, and he'd get his bis and tris, and he'd get his chest. This was, it's not a bad way to do an isometric contraction, except for the fact that it's not measurable. That's a huge negative to this. You don't know if you're pushing the same as you did last week, or if you, like what we like to do is try to increase from week to week. You don't know if you're increasing. I held it for longer today. Yeah, but you weren't pushing as hard. How do you know? Well, I thought I was. You don't know. Okay, so that's a big drawback of the Charles Atlas dynamic tension. And then another thing, that another way is a static contraction, like people, you can push against a wall. It's the same thing. You do not know how hard you're pushing and if you're improving on that. A wall, a tree, those are all static objects that you can push or pull against, and they don't really tell you if you're improving or not. Then there's the way that we like to do it with a live weight or live load, which your body has to have a reaction to it. Those of you that are power level, we've done Plyos, Mosquito, Frank, Travis, you guys have done Plyos before. And when you land, your body has to stabilize quickly before you jump back up. And the same with your hands. You can do Plyos on pull-ups by coming down and dynamically pulling back up. The quicker you can stabilize, the more force you can put back out, and the higher you pull yourself or push yourself or jump. So that's making it live. But the problem with that is that if you're unstable at all, your risk of injury can dramatically go through the roof. And on a live load, we want to reduce the risk, but get the benefit of that live load. So how do we do that is something that we'll be teaching you throughout the course and throughout the next 6 weeks of this, the way that we're training now. And that's on a pull-up, you pull to a certain height, you maintain that certain height. On a handstand push-up, maybe you start on the ground, you lift so that your head doesn't touch the ground anymore. Okay, and the thing that we're experts at is how do you load it proportionately so you don't cheat in order to do that hold, but you stay in proper alignment, and that yet you're engaged in that position so you get maximum force load and maximum recruitment to get the result stronger, more muscle. Does that make sense?
And I love it because it'll tell you, you know, you guys have trained for a while, so you know you're either weak at pushing or weak at pulling or vice versa, right? So I knew I was weak at pushing. I just didn't know how weak I was at pushing until I started doing this. So even on a military press, I was like, oh my God, you know, I'm using like 24Ks. When I get to an isometric hold, I'm more at like 8Ks. And it was really like mind blowing that I'm like, oh my God, the weakness I have in that particular position. And I'm like going to do anything to push past that. I'm going to use heart, I'm going to use legs, whatever I have to push past my weakest link, which that weak link has so much information about who you are in it that I'm like, I don't want to push past that. I want to get here. I want to gain that strength in that position, which is going to make me stronger. It's going to make me mentally stronger, all of that. So you guys, what's awesome about the isometrics is that it really tells you what's going on with you. You know, it's immediate feedback
And
for
it's
your strengths and your weaknesses.
yeah, and it's going to really challenge you mentally to stay working towards the alignment aspect of it and not start, for example, just like Jesse was saying on a press. Okay, if you look at my shoulders here on a press, they're even right now, right? Here might be easy. Here's easy. Right here is the hot spot. Am I like right now, if you guys put your arms in this position here, get those forearms vertical. Now imagine you have load. This is a static contraction, okay? But we can still feel what's happening right and wrong with this. So right now, lift your left shoulder up. See how things turned off? You lost that whole chain of engagement. Okay, now bring that left shoulder back down. Squeeze the elbows in a bit. Different, right? Now you're feeling muscles like, why are my abs contracting so much?
Recording in progress.
Now lift your elbows 1 inch and feel the difference, how your core is contracted. Keep those shoulders down. Now what happens is we start to cheat things by let those shoulders roll up and see how everything turns off.
And this means, what are you going to do? You're going to recruit another muscle to get that load up. And that's where your misalignments start. And that's where your injuries and pain starts.
Okay. So we got a couple things that we're working towards here. We really believe 110% in what we're doing now as the future of fitness, as far as people are in pain and they want to get rid of the pain, but yet we want to still be strong and lean and get cardiovascular benefit as well. The cool thing about all of this that we're talking about, you get cardiovascular benefit big time as well, because the work that your heart's doing while you're in that very position puts a little bit more pressure on the heart to create more strength in the heart, greater blood flow. You're going to get much more cardiovascular benefit as well as heart strength. Stronger the heart pumps, the easier it works then. The harder it can pump, I mean, the lower your heart rate is going to be as well.
And it's interesting, the BOLT score, which all of you who are taking the program, your test is your BOLT. You're going to do a breathing test. My BOLT score went up so high from training this for the past many months that I've been doing this. I would start off with a BOLT score of around 20, 30, something like that.
And that would be
and
good.
Now I'm at 50 minute as my first
on your
test,
first set.
As my first set. So it's awesome how this also leads into while you're sitting there, you're not doing all this running and all this cardiovascular stuff to build that you're actually going to gain it in your isometric holds.
Okay. So we've gone over quite a few different things. One last point that I wanted to make is one of the greatest, I always like looking at, well, who's the best? Who got the best results? In terms of weightlifting, the United States has always been pretty horrible compared to the rest of the world, except for one time period in the 50s when a guy named Bob Hoffman, who was the USA Olympic weightlifting coach, he coached the team, and we had a whole bunch of world record holders and champions, world champions. What do you think he did all the time? Isometric contractions. That's pretty much all he did, but he made them live. What he did that was really cool, he put markers on his weightlifting. So if he had a guy doing 200 pounds, he would have him in what's called a rack. If you don't know what a squat rack is, it's basically a cage where there's bars that hold a weight. You can put it on your shoulders, you can come off it, do squats, you can do presses. What he did was he put limiters on it. So he had a bar that you lifted the weight off and a bar that he would lift the weight up to. So you could do it low and you could do a row. You could do a press, you could do a squat, any of those things. A cage is a really elaborate way to load the body up if you don't want to put one in your kitchen. I have seen that done before, but my point is he got the greatest results because he loaded it and then he lifted it and held it. We're doing the same exact things. Frank can do this with any of his kettlebells. Kathy can do this with her 2K kettlebells. No problem. That Kathy was a joke with you. Okay, so the point is resistance isn't the thing. Sets and reps isn't the thing. It's taking the muscle to failure as a thing with alignment. So if we engage like if Travis is using 24Ks and we say, press it here, get those shoulders down, be nice and aligned, Travis, button, belly engaged, legs straight, and you're holding it here. Maximal contraction, he's working his alignment as well. And because the weight's live and he's holding it at thumbs to eyes the whole time, and then when he can't hold it there, it starts to drop, he's done. So he got a maximal effort. He knows how long he held it. Now the goal is to work more sets of 6-second holds or whatever he held it for. And maybe he does 3 little sets like that. Those little sets add up to give huge bang for your buck. So instead of him working that same exercise with reps and sets and stuff like that, which might have taken him a ton of minutes, he might be done in 2 minutes to 3 minutes with his shoulder press. Holds, less pain on the joints, getting more strength and more muscle, and recruiting those weak links in the body. So there's huge benefit of it. Hopefully that made sense to you guys, that one of the strongest, best strength coaches we've ever had, this was the majority of his training, was this isometric holds live format. And he produced more world records and more Olympic and world champions than ever in US history.
So before I get to class schedule, because we had a question about the class schedule and what times, does anyone have any questions? You can either put it in chat or you can ask. All right, excellent. So for those of you who are in the Monkey Bar Gym daily membership, you are going to have live class with your body weight isometric challenge on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 4:30. So it's basically just replacing what you would have done anyway. And you'll also get recordings for those days. For those of you who upgraded to the Silverback, or those of you who are in the paid in full, you're going to also have Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 4:30. But you'll also have Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 a.m. and Saturdays at 10. All right, and and you'll get recordings for all of that as well too. So that's
thank you. Finally, a time I can make it. I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now there's, for those of you that have not signed up, maybe for the 6-week program yet, we'll put the link in the chat so that you can click it and go sign up for this program. We truly believe this is like going to change how people look at fitness And we hope that you guys all feel the same way. We've been training this way for quite a long time and we love it.
Another question that we have too was the bolt test. Yeah, the bolt test is the only test, guys. The bolt test is the only test we want you to do. You may already know your bolt score, but we're going to be doing max effort stuff when we get into the class, when that starts. So that's going to be your test. We're going to do that like every day. Also, the link that I have in there, this is for anyone who's not already a current MBG member, that's not already a silverback upgrade, not already a paid in full. This is the link that you would use to sign up. For everybody else, don't use that link. If you haven't signed up or you haven't received it, you're most likely not a member, so you would definitely use that link. Anything else we got to say?
Does anyone have any questions on what we discussed? No?
And just check emails too to make sure that you guys received the work. So if you're already a member, you should have already received your body weight isometric challenge with the Zoom links inside of it. That'll be under stuff you should know with your class schedule and Zoom links. That's where you can click to join the classes, okay?
Awesome. Well, this was a quick little seminar or talk.
Oh, we got a question about equipment. Use the equipment, just come with the equipment that you have, because we are experts at working around stuff, you know, so we'll help you. Catherine laughs. You know, we are experts because Catherine, you're the one who taught us that. It took her 6 months to get a yoga block. But yeah,
too much.
Just come with what you have. Come with what you have and we'll work. Okay.
Okay. If you have some weights, kettlebells, bands, all of that stuff works.
Helps.
Some weights would really help. A chin-up bar for sure. Jungle gym would help. Those are going to be the mainstays of it. A jungle gym or power wheel would help you a ton. Some kettlebells, some hand weights would help you a ton. Okay. All right, guys. Anything else? I think we're good. Well, it was nice to see some of you guys. I've seen some of you guys, Danielo and Mosquito over in Dubai. Love seeing you guys. And from Spain, yeah. So it was really great to see you guys all over the world coming in and showing up. Hopefully we'll see you guys on a regular in the classes. Hope you dig what we're talking about today. We love you all, and it was great to see you all this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best.
All right, y'all.
Bye.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Bye.
Take care, everyone.
See you guys.